last year, I hit Hall of Fame. I think I did 440,000. I didn't make a single dial last year.
Wow.
I did not pick up the phone one time to call a lead. I texted every single lead.
Today, we have the pleasure of having one-time Hall of Fame producer going for his second year this year, second in a row, Mr. Daniel Kirby. Daniel is the epitome of a dedicated, great habits, just a beast all around in protecting families, always doing what's right for the families that he gets in contact with. So Daniel, thank you for getting on. We're excited to hear from you and listen and learn about the magic formula that everyone wants to know how to be a Hall of Fame producer.
Absolutely, man. I'm happy to be on, and thank you for asking me to speak. It's always a pleasure to get to talk to people and teach people. I'm always an open book. I apologize for my voice, guys. I had a wedding this last weekend, a couple trips before, so trying to get my voice back, but I'll try to be as loud as possible for you guys. So a couple things that I really want to mainly touch base on with, you could say, is the habits of what I did last year and what I'm doing this year to be a Hall of Fame producer is mainly staying disciplined to a routine and staying disciplined in your schedule. So for me personally, I run Monday through Saturday, Sunday if I have to, but I really try to make sure that I'm not taking that Monday through Saturday off. Now, if I have family emergencies, things like that, obviously that's okay. But I really try to stick to that Monday through Saturday. And honestly, I also try to make sure that I don't work on Sunday, because I think it's really important for us to be able to have a day off, for us to, take a step back as much as we want to keep going, it's fully okay for us to, have at least one day a week to ourselves. Whether it be, just relaxing, watching TV, going out, doing whatever you guys do. Let that be, your goal at the end of the week. Now, one of the biggest things that I used to stick to that schedule was creating goals for myself and making sure that I would hit those goals each week. So, for example, I talked to a guy named Eric Hamadi, and at the time I wasn't really producing as much as I would like, and I couldn't figure out what I was doing wrong, as far as, was I not buying enough leads? Was I not making enough dials? Was I not setting enough appointments? And it wasn't really that as much as I was giving up on myself too soon. And I was letting myself end my day of work without accomplishing what I needed to accomplish. So one of the biggest things that I personally implemented is, every single person, has something that they like to do at the end of the day, at the end of the week, to unwind. You like to drink a glass of wine, you like to watch TV, you like to read a book, drink a beer, whatever it may be. So I wouldn't allow myself to do that thing for me each week until I knew I hit my goal. So if I didn't hit my goal for, let's say, this last week, on Sunday when it's my day off, I'm not going to treat myself to having that thing because I didn't hit that goal. Now, as a new producer or a new agent, or someone who's even a seasoned agent that's trying to hit Hall of Fame, and you want to set those goals for yourself, you have to be disciplined enough to be okay with going 1, 2, 3, maybe 4 weeks in a row without hitting those goals, but without allowing yourself to do that thing. So, if it's, you want to have a glass of beer at the end of the day, sometimes you might have to go 30 days without having a glass of beer. But at the end of that 30 days, or whenever you do finally hit that goal, I promise you the thing that you do to relax is going to feel a whole lot better. It's going to taste better. It's just going to feel better for yourself knowing that you've actually done the work that you needed to do and what you were supposed to do to achieve those goals that you wanted to do. So that's one of the biggest things that I implemented for me, was just making sure that the job was actually done before I ended my day. Now, the nice thing about that too is, some days I might be done at 3, 4 o'clock in the afternoon.
Right.
Some days I might be done at noon. Some days I might not be done till 8, 9 p.m. But as long as you continuously set those goals for each day and hit those goals, the numbers are going to show for it. They always will, right? It's been proven by so many agents over the past 5, 6 years that you do the work that you're supposed to do, the numbers reflect, right? So as long as you just make sure that you guys, set that schedule, set your goal for whatever you want your goal to be, and stay disciplined to it, I promise you, it'll reward you in the end.
Right. And Daniel, I would say, just like any Hall of Fame producers, maybe the number one thing is activity that separates a really good producer from just kind of an average producer. And I know you have fantastic activity, whether before it was in home and now it's over the phone. What do you shoot for each day and each week in terms of appointments?
So for me, it's not necessarily appointments as it's much of talking to people. So some days or some weeks I know I might only get 30 appointments. Some weeks I know I might only get 60. But regardless of the amount of appointments that I have, I will make sure I am always talking or trying to talk to X amount of people. For me, I want to at least have a conversation, like physical conversation, with 50 people a day, whether it's over the phone, whether it's via text message. However the conversation is, I want to have a conversation with somebody, even if it's just them telling me no. If it's they text me back and they say, no, I'm not interested, I spoke to somebody. Because I've learned that it's okay to get a whole bunch of no's, because you have to go through the no's to get to the yeses anyway, right? We're all going to get the no's, and we're all going to get told that we already got it taken care of. We're not interested. Leave me alone. That's it, right? So 50 contacts as a minimum is what I shoot for each day. As long as I know that I've talked to, because sometimes I'll talk to 50 people and I might set 2 appointments. It's there, right? But sometimes I'll talk to 50 people and I'll set 20 appointments. So I've learned that it's not necessarily the amount, or at least for me, it's not necessarily the amount of appointments I set each week as it is the amount of people I'm physically talking to each day.
I like that. And so if you said you're working 6 days a week, but if you're just working 5 days a week, Monday through Friday, 50 times 5 would be 250 a week, which basically means you're having 1,000 contacts in a month. Guys, Daniel sells anywhere from 35 to 55 families per month. So if you think about that, okay, he talks to 1,000 people. He's going to close anywhere from 40 to 60. It's a numbers game. It's not as much of, hey, I have to close 75% of people. It's just a numbers game.
And that's the thing, dude. The biggest eye opener too for me when you talk about the numbers, and it's like when you really calculate that out, well, 40 to 60 out of 1,000, that's not a lot, right? And you think that that's a whole bunch of work. Well, wow, I don't want to talk to 1,000 people that have to sell 40. But a lot of them, you guys, like it's not like I'm having 1,000 appointments. I'm not running 1,000 appointments, spending 30 minutes on the phone with each person. I do include, like I said, the people that tell me no, like that is someone that I'm talking to, right? And the best way that I've always liked to look at the numbers is, for me, I like to compare things to sports. And the reason I like to compare it to sports is because regardless of what sport you look at basketball, you look at football, you look at baseball, all these different mainline sports, LeBron James and I mean, I don't know if you guys know big baseball guys, but like the best hitters out there, you know, guys that are in the Hall of Fame for their sports, they fail 70% of the time.
Yeah.
Which literally means, so, you know, when they're shooting like a 3-point shot, you know, a really good shooter makes 30% of their shots. A really good hitter gets on base 30% of the time. So more times out of not, they're striking out, they're missing their shot, they're not getting on base, right? They're literally failing. But guess what? They're getting paid millions and millions and millions of dollars to be the very, very best at what they do by failing more times than succeeding. So if you apply that to what we do, you apply that to leads, you apply that to contacts, you apply that to appointments, it is perfectly okay for us to strike out, for us to miss a shot, for us to, you know, not make a goal, you know, 70 out of 30, 100 times, and we're still going to be okay, right?
Yeah.
And especially when you look at it at leads, you know, the average lead nowadays, an internet lead or an aged mortgage lead costs what, $9, right? $9 to $10. So if you get 100 of those, let's say you get 100 of those, that's $900. We'll say $1,000 to make numbers easy, right?
Okay.
Well, guess what? Our average insurance policy is how much? It's $1,000, right?
Yep.
So 1 out of 100, we're breaking even, right? So even if we only closed 10%, right? We only made 10 out of 100 shots that we took. That's $10,000.
10x.
It's like, how does that math not make sense, right? It makes perfect sense. So it's like, I used to beat myself up all the time, and I would be afraid to have somebody tell me no. I'd be afraid to get the objections. I'd be afraid to sit on the phone for 30 minutes and not make a sale. But I've learned that it really is okay, because you have to filter through the no's to get to the yeses. So as long as you just keep a good head on your shoulders and you stay disciplined and know, okay, I've got my 100 leads, I've got my $1,000, whatever you've got, it's okay that if you only close a small percentage of them, you're going to be doing great.
Yeah, and it might be, I just pulled this up, you know, might even be a little bit higher. I just had a call last week with all of our numbers. Right now, our average final expense policy, we're about $75 per month. That's the average, versus our term policy is $104 per month. So if you average it, we're closer to $11.50 for annual premium. Let's talk about lead spend. What do you spend on average per week?
So traditionally, if you look at it per week, I'm probably spending anywhere between $1,500 to $2,500 a week on leads. Okay. For me personally, right now, I think the diamond in the rough leads, best quality for the price is going to be your aged mortgage and your aged final expense. Yeah. You can get 1 to 3 month leads for anywhere between, I think it's like $4 to $9, depending on final expense and on mortgage. And guys, let me tell you, last year I hit off, I think I did 440,000. I didn't make a single dial last year.
Wow.
I did not pick up the phone one time to call a lead. I texted every single lead. Yeah. And I created this text system, which is kind of one of the things, not really the text system itself, but creating something that works for you and sticking to it is a big thing for that discipline and that activity of being, you know, a Hall of Fame producer too. So I found something that worked for me. I also learned that even for some newer agents, it can kind of help get around the, you know, the fear of dialing, right? The fear of hearing someone tell you no on the phone, or the fear of getting that objection and not knowing what to say, right? With texting, you know, you're giving them the opportunity to reply to you at their own time, right? So no, you might not you're not going to 3 dial them right away, and, you know, maybe have that opportunity to 1 call close immediately, but you know, if you text them at 8 in the morning, they might text you at 3 p.m. because they were working all day and say, hey, thanks for reaching out. You know, I'm going to be off of work at 5. Give me a call then. Right. And then not only that, but it's the same objections on texting as it is over the phone. Sure. If someone tells you they're not interested, somebody tells you they just got it taken care of, you know, it was too expensive. It's all the same objections. So it gives us the opportunity to take a step back, not feel necessarily rushed into our reply on the phone, and be able to, you know, send a message that is, you know, the proper way to address that objection.
Got it. And guys, just so you guys know, and I was doing this early on, I would always like set my alarm, whether it was 1 o'clock, 3 o'clock, 5 o'clock in the morning, 11 o'clock at night, whatever. If I found a specific lead type in the CRM that I wanted and I kind of knew when they came in, I would do it. Daniel texted me the other day and he was like, hey dude, do you know if these leads are dropping at a different time now? Because I usually wake up at, you know, 2 in the morning to scoop up as many as I can. Then I go back to sleep and then dial them when I wake up, text them when I wake up. So that's just, you know, it's funny, but that's just a small thing, guys, of just the extra effort of what it takes. He's willing to sacrifice, you know, 5 minutes of his sleep to get the leads that he likes and as many as he wants. And then from there, be able to execute, you know, when he's texting down these people. So.
Oh man, it was like clockwork. Like it got to the point where I didn't even need to set my alarm. My body would just wake up at like 12:53 in the morning. I'd have my laptop next to me on the bed. I'd roll over. I'm like half asleep. I buy my $1,000 of leads, close the laptop, go back to bed. I'm up 5 hours later.
Love it. Daniel, we have a lot of new agents on here. And you know, you said 1,500 to 2,500 per week, which is pretty much going to be any Hall of Famers lead spend on average, I would say. For new agents, I remember for me, it was the same thing. That number is super intimidating, especially if you don't even have $1,500 to your name. So can you talk about the progression of kind of where you started and then kind of how you ramped that up to where you're at now?
So I started very poorly in the sense that I was spending a couple $200 here, $300 here, $100 here, getting 20 to 30 leads, working them to the ground. And it was hard. It was really hard. Yeah. So as a new agent, one of the things that the best thing I can suggest is, I mean, it's got to be at least, you know, $800 to $1,000 minimum, in my opinion, that you got to have ready to go. Now, if you don't have that cash wise, you know, maybe go do this part-time for a little bit and go make a little extra cash. Or what I actually did, probably not the smartest thing in the world, but right after the convention in Dallas, which is really when everything changed for me, the first thing I did is I went and opened up a measly, it had like a $2,500 limit credit card because I didn't have like great credit or anything, but I got something, right? Yeah. And I maxed out that credit card in one day. So I literally went and spent I took that credit card, I spent as much as I could on it and just bought as many leads as I could. And at that point, I just didn't look back. So literally since that day, you know, I immediately made some money off that $2,500, paid off the credit card, and then just kept going.
I love it. And guys, I always tell people it's kind of two things before you swipe the credit card. It's one, am I confident in my ability to pitch? Am I confident in getting over the objections? So that's a you thing. The second thing, which is a you thing too, is can I commit to doing my 50 contacts a day, my 40 contacts a day, my 100 contacts every 2 days, whatever it is. So if you have the skill mastered down, you're confident, and then you from there just dedicate the time, then you should feel pretty comfortable. The only time people don't feel comfortable is either A, if their pitch or their phone script isn't good, or B, if they can't stick to, hey, I'm going to dial for, you know, however long, text for however long it takes a day till I get the job done. Daniel, you are on track again this year for Hall of Fame. What are some goals throughout the rest of the year that you have to accomplish?
So for the rest of the year, for me, I want to make sure I'm at least at minimum issuing anywhere between 35 to 45,000 a month. I think like this month right now, I'm at 30 or 31 through the third week. So I know I got to push myself a little bit harder this fourth week just to make sure I get over that 35 mark. I'm going to continue to just stick to the system I have. You know, it's been working. I'm going to continue making sure I hit my 50 contacts a day. I'm going to continue to one thing I actually started a little bit different is now that I've been in this business and been constantly selling for over, I think, 2 years now. I've been spending a lot of time where I've actually been getting a lot of extra premium by revisiting clients from 1 and 2 years ago. So there are days, like I mentioned earlier, there's some days I've only got 4, maybe 5 appointments. So there's, when you talk about that activity, there's 8 hours in that day that I have no appointments, right? And if I maybe don't have any leads left to text or leads to dial, you know, we still need to fill that time with activity. So what I've been doing to make sure I hit those goals, to make sure I get to Hall of Fame this year is I've been going into my Americo back office, to my mutual, you know, looking at all my policies that I sold, you know, over 1 and 2 years ago. And I'm calling every single one of those clients, mainly, hey, how you doing? Just checking in. I know we haven't talked in a while. You know, seeing if you're still happy with the policy you have. Are you wanting to add any more coverage? Are you wanting to, you know, increase the policy that you have? I remember, and even if you didn't actually talk to them about this originally, you can say, you know, I remember when we first talked, you know, your budget was a little tight, so that's why we chose this plan. And we talked about, you know, in the future when your budget got a little bit better, you know, increasing your coverage. So I was seeing if, you know, you wanted to increase that coverage still. And 90% of the time, most people, you know, are on a budget anyway when you're talking to them, because we're dealing with middle class America here, and their budgets do change. You know, they do get better. They start making more money. So even if you didn't actually have that conversation with them when you first sat down, you know, use that as like a building block to, you know, talk to your client from a couple years ago, and, you know, add on an extra $5,000 of final expense, or, you know, add on an additional life insurance. You know, maybe they have a kid now that they want to get covered. You know, a lot of things in life for our clients, just like for us, you know, our life changes a lot over the course of a couple of years. It changes for them too, you know. So keeping in contact with them, and it's, you know, you don't have to call them every 4 months, every 6 months, you know, just reach out to those clients. You've got a big book of business, right? You've been doing this for a year, 2 years, you know, start utilizing that. And I think there was a week ago, or not a week ago, but a month ago, there was a week where I had submitted and sold like 14,000 in premium. That was just off of old clients.
Wow. Being smart, guys, about your book of business, and whether you've been here for a year or two, like Daniel said, is super important. One thing that, you know, regardless if you've been here for a year or 5 years, that is 100% true, is if you sold a policy in the last 9, 10, 11, 12 months, the carriers have updated their policies, whether it's some sort of rider, whether it's they increase the coverage amount. A lot of our final expense, a lot of our terms, if not all of them, in the last just 12 months have increased their amounts from 30 to 40, or from 250 to 400, or 400 to 450. So that's huge. Also, going back around and seeing, you know, if they have their retirement stuff set up, maybe an IUL and annuity, that is, those are fantastic add-ons. And just like Daniel said, just being in contact with them, chances are, because life changes, inflation, etc., they're gonna want to revisit and either look to add more coverage, or maybe they're gonna want to, you know, a term policy or mortgage protection on top of that final expense. We want to finish off with one tip that you could give a new agent that would have helped you when you were brand new. What would that tip be?
Education. So educating yourself not only on product knowledge. Like, originally I was told that product knowledge isn't that big of a deal, but what really changed me from 2 years ago from doing 200,000 to hitting Hall of Fame was in my presentation, I took the time to educate my clients. I took the time to properly go over all the different options, the different benefits, every possible scenario and situation that they could have. And, yes, it takes some time to understand the different benefits, the different products and everything. But what I learned is the top reason why clients will tell you that they want to think about it, why they want to talk to their wife about it, or why they're not ready for it is because they don't actually know what they are buying. And who is going to spend money on something that they don't actually know what they're getting? Nobody is, right? So education, it would be that one tip that I would give to anybody, is just to make sure you actually take the time to educate your clients properly. And I promise that'll go a long way for you.
Daniel, if someone wanted to work with you and join your team, what would be the best way to reach out to you?
Yeah, you guys can text or call me anytime. My number is 214-300-1316. So I'm always an open book. I'd prefer a text first. So just, send me your name. Let me know where you're from. If you want to talk, ask questions, I'm an open book. I'm here for you guys.
Awesome. We appreciate you getting on today.